This time we get to see amazing spell resource generation and cards for a new mage archetype, as well as 2 directions for rogues to pursue with powerful synergies. Demon hunters might not be the only ones frustrating opponents. Let's look at what these cards can do.
This should be interesting.
With all the Ashes of Outland, Mage and Rogue cards revealed, it's time to look at the ones we haven't covered yet and see what synergies will be available to us very soon. Both Mages and Rogues are getting a number of really powerful options this expansion. We'll look at these class cards in just a moment, but real quick, let me note we do card reviews a bit differently here. Rather than the standard 5-star ratings for cards, we ask 3 questions Hearthstone players really want to know. First, would the card fit into one of the current meta decks, Tier 1 through Tier 3 decks per HS Replay's tier list? So is it meta now? This helps gauge the card's power level a bit. Second, will the card fit into a meta deck once the expansion comes out? Meaning, from what we can gauge, is it powerful enough to create or support a new meta archetype? So is it meta later? And third, most importantly, does it inspire or enable crazy, experimental, or meme decks? So is it meme deck worthy? Each card will get a yes or no to these questions. There's a time code for quick reviews with puns in the description below for those of you without much time. For everyone else, let's get into the main reviews. Last review, we started off with some weak Druid cards, but mages get to start by filling your mind and hand with unending possibilities. Evocation is a 1-mana spell to fill your hand with random mage spells. The only drawback is that you discard the unused ones at the end of your turn. If Mountain Giant hadn't gotten Hall of Famed, a bunch of mages would have been dropping Mountain Giant on turn 4 with incredible reliability. Without Mountain Giant, you'll want to wait until you have enough mana to play a few spells. But if you have a Sorcerer's Apprentice or 2 to pair with this, you could end up playing a ton of spells in a single turn. This may also be a way to help find lethal when you're just a few damage points away. It might also allow you to chain into a bunch more spells with Mana Cyclone, though Elemental Evocation to discount your Mana Cyclone will be rotating to Wild, so you can't go too crazy. There's only 1 mage deck in the top 3 tiers at the moment, and that's Highlander Mage. So when considering if a mage card is meta now, all of them will be looking at this archetype. This probably wouldn't replace Arcane Breath or Ray of Frost as a 1-mana spell in the deck, but it would certainly find a slot. It would pair especially well with Dragoncaster at 7 mana or more, as you could play Evocation first, drop Dragoncaster, and play any really expensive spell for free. That does require a dragon and Dragoncaster to pull off, but if you don't get a spell worth combining with Dragoncaster, you just cast the rest of the spells instead. This would see play in the current meta. And with the amazing potential this has, there's no way it gets passed over for the future meta. As for memes, we'll use this together with Mana Cyclone to ensure our Mana Giants are super cheap and flood the board with 8-mana minions with Conjurer's Calling and Khadgar. We'll probably throw in Raid the Sky Temple for even more of that RNG goodness. Every game will be like opening Forrest Gump's box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. What's a minion that could help you draw Evocation out of your deck? Starscryer is a 2-mana 3/1 minion with a Death Rattle to draw a spell from your deck. She's really easy to kill at just 1 health, so she's not going to be fighting for the board early, but that makes her Death Rattle much more reliable to get quickly. If she were available while Luna's Pocket Galaxy is still available, there would be no stopping Minion Mage. As a reliable spell draw minion for 2 mana, I'm pretty certain she would see play in Highlander Mage. They do have a lot of spells in the deck, so current builds of the deck wouldn't know which spell they will get from her, but just as a way to cycle through the deck and contest the board early, she probably would make the cut. And when building decks with this in mind, mostly Minion Mage can target high-value spells to draw from their deck to prepare for combos or stall opponents. The loss of Luna's Pocket Galaxy hurts this card's prospects a lot, but I think this will still join at least one future meta deck regardless. So what broken and silly things can we do with a card like this? Spell-specific card draw opens a ton of possibilities. How about using Star Scryers to draw Pyroblasts out of our deck, then dropping Naga Sandwich on turn 5, so that we can deal 20 damage to our opponent's face over the next 2 turns? It needs a bit more tweaking to go full meme, but there's a lot of potential for this card. It will definitely enable some really fun memes. And if you happen to draw a secret off of Star Scryer's Death Rattle, you could pair it with this next minion. Apexis Smuggler is a 2-mana, 2/3 minion that allows you to discover a spell after you play a secret. With Arcane Flak Mage and Ancient Mysteries sticking around, perhaps options for Secret Mage will finally reach the critical mass necessary for it to terrorize Standard as well as Wild. Apexis Smuggler could help you discover another secret, chaining into a nearly endless secret tree. It won't be as colorful as the Christmas tree rogues will get, but it would still be a frightening sight. Highlander Mage doesn't run any secrets to play directly, so this would definitely not join the current meta. What about the upcoming meta? The Secret Mage archetype got a lot of support in Saviors of Old Doom, but it wasn't able to get a foothold. The archetype will lose Arcane Keysmith and Splitting Image, but gain this card and the secret we'll cover in a moment. I think these are better overall, but as mages have the most expensive secrets in the game, I'm not sure the archetype can make a comeback without the tools raging through Wild. I don't think this will get to join the future meta either. But we can and shall make a 100% secret synergy mage. Secret Keeper and Sunreaver Spy will fight to buy this time early on, and Cloud Prince and Ethereal Arcanist will push to close out the game. It won't work out very often, but sometimes this will discover Pyroblast to clinch the game for us. And what's the new secret to pair with Apexis Smuggler's effect? Netherwind Portal is a 3-mana secret to summon a random 4-cost minion after your opponent cast a spell. Paying 3 mana to get a 4-mana minion isn't bad, but as it is a random minion, and since you don't necessarily get it right away, this is a bit underwhelming for a secret. It also has the same trigger as Counterspell, which most Hearthstone veterans are accustomed to playing around, so it's less likely to go off unless your opponent wants to proc it. I'm not very excited about this secret, except for how it supports the other potential archetype we'll be discussing in a moment. This is too weak and doesn't fit into the game plan of current Highlander mages, so this is not a meta now card. If a secret mage archetype develops, this may make the cut for that deck, but it will be one of the last choices for inclusion in that deck. This may provide sufficient value for a deck running the archetype introduced with the next card, especially if discounted to 2 mana or cheaper. But I have my concerns. I don't think this will make the cut for the future meta decks either. Though, we'll certainly include this in our 100% secret synergy meme deck, so it will see some play at least. So why would you care about summoning minions with your secret? What if you weren't running any minions in your deck? Font of Power is a 1-mana spell to discover a mage minion, but if you have no minions in your deck, you get to keep all 3. Discovering a class minion for 1 mana isn't bad, but if you're not getting value from the latter part of this effect, it would be better to just drop this card and run the minion you want, especially since you can't count on getting a specific minion from this. Bad Luck Albatross can still counter this, as well as Highlander decks now, but if your opponent shuffles Albatrosses into your deck before you play this, at least you'll still get to choose the best of 3 options. Without the possibility of getting all 3 cards, this would not join the current meta. However, this paired with the next few cards supporting a No-Minion Mage archetype certainly makes me want to explore the possibilities. Almost everyone thought Spell Hunter would flop when it came out, but it turned out to be a really powerful archetype. This card's future meta status is tied pretty much completely to the success or failure of No-Minion Mage, but I think there may be just enough support for the archetype to make it. We'll go ahead and say this will be meta later. If No-Minion Mage does succeed in the meta, then it won't be a meme to play this card in that deck. It might be a meme to play this in a deck completely full of minions, so this never gets 3, but that's not all that interesting. What we could do, however, is make a 1-minion mage. The only minion we run in the deck will be Dwarven Archaeologist, and she'll help us play the minions we discover at a discount. Well, counting her cost and the cost of the spell, it won't really be a discount, but we'll get a free 2/3 body out of it. Let's try it anyways. Font of Power doesn't provide enough power by itself to get No-Minion Mage to succeed, but this next card may provide the fuel necessary. Apexis Blast is a 5 mana spell to deal 5 damage, and if your deck has no minions, it will summon a random 5 cost minion for you. This is really powerful. This is the same effect as Fireland's Portal for 2 mana less. As long as you're not running minions in your deck or have drawn through them all, you get a great discount on a card that saw a ton of play when it was in Standard. Again, this needs to be wary of Bad Luck Albatross, as just doing 5 damage for 5 mana feels really weak. But in most circumstances it would be used, this feels amazing. That being said, this would not be run in Highlander Mage, as it has way too many minions for this to get the extra value. Though, with the success of Fireland's Portal in the past as a guide, and the overall strength of mage spells, paired with the amazing Reno, remember, he's a hero card, not a minion, I think No-Minion Mage will be able to join the meta, and this is vital to that deck. And memes? What if we were to ignore the no-minion portion of this card, and just focus on the 5 damage that can go face? The Mage Prime Astromancer Solarian has spell damage +1, and Azure Explorer has +2 spell damage. The next card we'll look at might just make it possible to chuck a surprising amount of burst damage spells at our opponent to take them down. Still, I don't think this is necessary for that meme deck, and it's a bit too expensive, even if we did discount it to work. I don't think this is a meme deck worthy card. Of course, running a deck full of spells instead of minions is a huge risk, and it can be really difficult to keep up with opponents running cheap minions. Is there a way to offset this risk a bit? Check out this next card. Incanter's Flow is a 2 mana spell to reduce the cost of spells in your deck by 1 mana. You spend 2 mana now to save a ton of mana over the rest of the game, as long as you draw this early. While this is absolutely amazing value in a no-minion mage deck, there's a good chance it will see play in mixed minion decks as well, just because discounting spells is such a beneficial effect. It's actually kind of difficult to say whether this would see play in Highlander Mage. It certainly would be nice to have a 1 mana discount on the more expensive spells in the deck, but it would also take up an important deck slot without immediate impact. With Dragoncaster and Calicos, the deck can usually cheat out a spell for cheaper when really needed. It'd be nice to play the remaining spells a turn earlier, but I don't know that they'd sacrifice a card slot for it. I'm gonna say this doesn't quite make the cut in the current build. If No-Minion Mage does come together, this will definitely be an inclusion in that deck. This can also open the door for a Burn Mage to chain spells together faster and take down opponents before they can recover. This should join the meta in some form or another. As mentioned in previous card reviews, mana discounts are the bread and butter of meme decks. With 2 of these, Frostbolts can become 0 mana, Fireballs become 2 mana, and the costs return to normal even when paired with 2 Kirin-Tor Tricasters. Have you ever wanted to do 9 damage with Frostbolt? Even Malygos can't boast that. We'll build a super spell damage Burn Mage with cards that would never have a chance to see play without this. Incanter's Flow does enable meme decks. What's a new spell that you'd really like to discount with Incanter's Flow? Deep Freeze. This 8 mana spell allows you to freeze an enemy and summon 2 3/6 water elementals. Water elementals cost 4 mana each by themselves, but this bundles 2 of them and a freeze into 1 card. And if you do manage to discount this spell, you're getting even greater value. As the water elementals have freeze too, this will help lock down opponents of a no-minion mage and buy time to close out the game. At the same cost of Power of Creation, you get 2 reliable big minions and an immediate freeze on 1 enemy character. Power of Creation usually has a bigger minion as one of the options, and you can get Kartut Defenders for amazing stall and heal, but you can be certain Something from the opponent will be frozen for at least one turn when playing this. Some players who prefer known outcomes would consider swapping this for Power of Creation in current Highlander decks. A riskier swap would be to trade the Blizzard, but I think this would become a popular card for the archetype. And in the future, No-Minion Mage will want cards like this to make minions and stall the opponent. A couple other archetypes will also likely experiment with it, and I believe a meta deck or two will choose to keep it. With Khadgar's help, we can summon 4 water elementals with this. Perhaps in the Evocation Mana Giant meme deck we mentioned earlier? With this, Frost Nova, Blizzard, Ray of Frost, Frostbolt, the original water elementals, and Cone of Cold, we can create a perma-freeze mage that pretty much never lets the opponent hit face while gathering some combo pieces to finish the game. There are a few meme options for this. Now onto Rogues. Rogues have a bunch of awesome cards for this expansion, but let's get what's probably the weakest one out of the way first. Cursed Vagrant is a 7-mana 7/5 with a Death Rattle to summon a 7/5 Shadow with Stealth. This Cursed Shadow looks freaky. 7 mana is a lot to pay for a 7/5, but as long as it doesn't get silenced or sapped, you're getting 14-10 in stats over a couple turns. This reminds me a lot of Waxadread, as there's a lot of potential bundled into the minion. However, the Death Rattle minion reappears on the board right away instead of shuffling into your deck. So is that worth the 2 extra mana? Even if it is, Waxadread sees no competitive play, so I do doubt its viability in the meta. While this would feel great to get discounted with Galakrond or Highspare and Togwaggle, none of the current Rogue meta decks run Waxadread, and that would be the closest indicator of whether this would work in one of those decks. Highlander Galakrond Rogue does run Tiamat, which also has a few similarities as a big body, but as Tiamat is much more flexible and reactive, I doubt this could see play instead. It's too expensive to put in without replacing another big minion, and this just doesn't have better value, so this would not be meta now. I fear it runs into the same issues in the upcoming meta as well. The second half of this does have stealth, and as we'll see soon, there are some stealth synergies going on in this set, but I don't know that it would be worth running this. However, in a meme deck with Shadow of Death and Preparation, this would be a great target to shuffle copies into our deck and get back on board. We would run Waxadread and a couple other quality targets, but with Stowaway's help, we could generate some really sticky boards multiple turns in a row with this guy. Cursed Vagrant can join meme decks. As noted a moment ago, Rogues are getting a lot of cards that care about stealth during this expansion, including their Prime. Akama is the Rogue Prime Legendary. He's a 3-mana 3/4 with Stealth and a Death Rattle to shuffle Akama Prime into your deck. Akama Prime is a 6-mana 6/5 that is permanently stealthed. We've only ever seen permanent stealth as a treasure in dungeon runs up till now. This will work the same way, so he will never be directly targetable by your opponent. The only way to kill this guy will be to do AoE damage or stick taunts in his way that he may have to trade into. By the way, Rogues do have one special tool to help draw their Prime faster: Stowaway, as the Prime is shuffled into your deck. So if your focus is just on getting Akama Prime back, you could include a copy or two of him to speed things up a bit. Akama wouldn't fit very well in Malygos OTK Rogue, as he adds an additional card to your deck for you to draw. But Galakrond Rogue might consider him, and Highlander Galakrond Rogue would definitely look at including him. At least in Highlander Galakrond Rogue, I believe Akama would make the cut. And in the upcoming meta, Highlander Galakrond Rogue will still be around, and these new stealth synergy cards mean that at least a couple meta decks will be enlisting Akama's services. Shadow Sensei from Mean Streets of Gadgetzan would feel great in a deck with this guy if it were still in Standard. Sadly, it's not. But that won't stop us from filling our board with permanently stealthed Akama Primes. As Akama Prime has permanent stealth, we can probably get him to stick on the board for a turn, so we can drop Tack Noswhisker and Togwaggle Scheme the following turn. And then we just whittle our opponent down turn after turn of adding a single, permanently stealthed, hefty threat. It'll be fun, for us at least, to have a board full of untargetable assassins. Of course, Akama is not the only stealth minion for this expansion. Rogues also get Spy Mistress, a 1-mana 3/1 with stealth. Worgen Infiltrator got a buff. She's extremely vulnerable to board clears, but if you drop this on turn 1, your opponent will feel the pressure mounting. While she doesn't provide the extra value that Pharaohcat and Bloodsail Flybooter offer as follow-ups, she does serve as a more reliable target for a Praise Galakron follow-up than either of those. And she can present some really early pressure to get the game rolling. I think she would be a quality replacement, at least for Bloodsail Flybooter in Highlander Galakron Rogue. And for the same reasons, as well as stealth synergies we'll see in a moment, I'm quite certain she'll make the cut in an upcoming meta deck as well. With all the new stealth-related cards from this set, we'll be able to build a 100% stealth synergy deck. Let the ninja memes begin. How can you keep Spy Mistress and Akama alive for at least one attack into minions? Try using Ashtongue Slayer. She's a 2-mana 3/2 with a battlecry to give a stealth minion +3 attack and immune this turn. They only get the extra damage and immune for one turn, but this potential on a 2-mana 3/2 is frightening. One challenge to get full value from Ashtongue Slayer is that you have to have a minion on the board, still stealthed, and ready to attack this turn. Except in a deck with a ton of stealth minions, there may be quite a few occasions you'll just have to play her as a 2-mana 3/2 body without getting any battlecry value. Even then, she's not bad, but you really do want the value out of her battlecry. With this, perhaps Wasteland Assassin will finally get to see some play? Other than Spirit of the Shark and some Highlander Galakron rogues, none of the current meta decks run stealth minions, so Ashtongue Slayer would not join the current meta. However, alongside Spy Mistress and Akama from this set, Skyvateer from Galakron's Awakening, and a few new and old neutral cards, there's a good chance that a meta deck or two will adopt a stealth synergy package as part of their deck. In such decks, Ashtongue Slayer will be an excellent inclusion. Ashtongue Slayer should get to join the upcoming meta. And why would you build a 100% stealth synergy deck without the excellent burst or removal synergy this card brings to the deck? She'll definitely get to join meme decks too. Another way rogues will be able to benefit from stealth minions will be with Greyheart Sage. He's a 3-mana 3/3 with a battlecry to draw 2 cards if you control a stealthed minion. Excellent costed card draw on a 3/3 body, and he may help draw more stealth minions so you can continue getting value from the synergies in your deck. If your stealthed minion happens to be Skyvateer, the amount of card draw this stealth synergy can produce is wild. Well, it's standard, but you know what I mean. As with Ashtongue Slayer, a single Spirit of the Shark in Highlander Galakron Rogue would not be enough to include this in a current meta deck. But believing that stealth package will be good in the new meta, I'm confident to say that Greyheart Sage will be able to join the upcoming meta. And when all your minions are aggressive but easily killed stealth minions, you do need some card draw to replenish the ranks. Greyheart Sage will also join our 100% stealth meme deck. Now, Greyheart Sage isn't the only option for drawing 2 cards at once this expansion. We finally get to see the other secrets for rogues. Dirty Tricks is a 2-mana secret that after your opponent casts a spell, you draw 2 cards. Ambush punished your opponent for playing a minion, and this punishes your opponent for playing spells. The only way your opponent will be able to play around both is to play a weapon, hero power, or do nothing. The rogue secrets this time are much easier to trigger, though that also means that it may be a bit more challenging to get value from Blackjack Stunner. As Malygos OTK is really focused on collecting the combo pieces as quickly and cheaply as possible, I'm fairly certain they would make room for this in the current meta. And while rogues have a remarkable amount of card draw available with Galakrond and Highspare and Togwaggle, they're always looking for more. Even without the amazing secret synergies with Blackjack Stunner and Shadow Jeweler Hanar, this would be run. But I'm certain most of the rest of the secret package will also make the cut in a couple meta decks. And there's no way our Shadow Jeweler Hanar, Shadow Step, Wild Brewmaster, and perhaps a Shadow of Death for good measure, Christmas Tree Rogue doesn't include this amazing draw engine. Memes sometimes require employing dirty tricks. So against Rogue Secrets, your opponent can't play a minion or spell without helping you. But at least they can clean up the board with the minions they already have, right? Wrong. The third secret is Bamboozle, a 2-mana secret that reads, when one of your minions is attacked, transform it into a random one that costs 3 more. Of course, there are some low rolls for an evolve effect like this, but there are also some major high rolls at each mana cost too. This is amazing. It will be a little bit sad when your opponent attacks Shadow Jeweler Hanar and forcibly transforms him, but he will turn into a 5-drop, so most likely his stats will improve. He might even transform into a convincing infiltrator to really punish your opponent. With this coverage of effects from Rogue Secrets, I wouldn't be surprised if playing Secrets has an unwritten side effect. Paralyze opponent. Instead of relying on the Witchy Lackey to transform Evil Miscreant into a 4-drop, if you've got the mana, why not combo him out with Bamboozle? Then Evil Miscreant can transform into a 6-drop. I'm exaggerating a bit, but I'm fairly certain that Highlander Galakrond Rogue would make room for this secret if they could. Snip Snap and Bone Wraith would be sad when the opponent transforms them, but pretty much all the rest of the minions would be happy to transform into a minion that costs 3 more. And in the future meta, not only will this work great with the rest of the Rogue Secret Synergy package, but it will also pair well with the Stealth package. Many of the Stealth minions have high attack, but are extremely vulnerable after hitting and unstealthing. So, if they transform into minions 3 mana more, instead of dying easily on board, Bamboozle lets stealth minions have their cake and eat it too. While hesitant to include a secret that could transform Shadow Jeweler Hanar into a different minion when attacked, the Christmas Tree meme deck will want as many starting activators as possible. We'll just have to time the bounces of Shadow Jeweler Hanar around when this is on board until we manage to get an extra copy of him. Rogues will ambush, trick, and bamboozle opponents looking at Christmas trees. And that was the last card. Now onward to the quick reviews. Evocation would high roll with Highlanders in the current meta, will fill every mage's hand in the upcoming meta, and will conjure a box of chocolates for Mana Giants and Khadgar in meme decks. Star Scryer would use the stars from Luna's Pocket Galaxy in the current meta. She'll draw high-value spells in the upcoming meta, and her Stars Cries will mingle with Naga Sandwich in meme decks. Apexis Smuggler's services wouldn't be requested now, is missing the resources he needs to smuggle into the future meta, but he can discover even more secrets in a 100% secret synergy meme deck. Netherwind Portal wouldn't open for Highlander decks in the current meta, looks too unstable for the future meta, but it does blow a 100% meme deck away from the Nether. Font of Power wouldn't provide any power to the current meta, is entirely reliant on the positive potential of No-Minion Mage, and was discovered by Dwarven Archaeologist for 1-minion Mage meme decks. Apexis Blast is charging up during the current meta to blast onto the scene in the upcoming meta, but the shockwave is too small for memes. Incanter's Flow probably wouldn't flow in the current meta, but will reduce the cost of spells for the upcoming meta and meme incantations. Deep Freeze would be an option to consider in the current meta, will slow down the future meta, and will make meme deck opponents wonder if they're in cryostasis. Cursed Vagrant would be on his own in the current meta. He'll feel cursed in the future meta, but with some preparation, his Shadow of Death will feel like a powerful meme. Even stealth, Akama would make his presence known in the current and future metas, and he will produce an army of permanently stealthed assassins as part of Togwaggle's scheme. Spy Mistress is so good at her job as a stealth minion that she'll be seen in every type of deck. Ashtongue Slayer can't find any targets in the current meta, but she will help slay many opponents in the upcoming meta and meme decks. Greyheart Sage would watch the current meta from a distance, but he's eager to lend his wisdom to the upcoming meta, and he will draw upon the power of stealth minions in meme decks. Rogues are happy to resort to dirty tricks in any situation, present or future. Rogue opponents will get tired of getting ambushed, tricked, and bamboozled for every play they make, but they'll have to put up with these secrets in all metas and memes. And that's a wrap. We still have a lot more cards from Ashes of Outland to look at, and the reviews for them are coming soon. If you enjoyed, be sure to tap that like button, smash that subscribe button, and share your perspective in the comments below. You're awesome. Thank you for watching, and have an awesome day.